Assalamualaikum, we from Group 12 present for History of Islamic. The title that we present is Mughul and Andalusian Architecture Malay Archipelago. What we will discuss is Mughal architecture and Andalusia architecture. Mughal architecture Malay Archipelago. About Mughal architecture, seni bina Mughal ialah jenis seni bina Indo-Islam yang dibangunkan oleh Mughal pada abad ke-16, 17 dan 18 sepanjang tahap empayar mereka yang sentiasa berubah-ubah di benua kecil India. Seni bina Mughal ialah gabungan simetri dan hiasan seni bina Parsi, Turki dan India yang sangat simetri. Seni bina Mughal mula berkembang dan berkembang semasa pemerintahan Akbar the Great, di mana ia terkenal dengan penggunaan meluas batu pasir merah sebagai bahan binaan. Pencapaian seni bina di bawah pemerintahan Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan dan Aurangzeb. Orang Mughal juga terkenal kerana mencipta taman-taman yang indah dalam susun atur cabang Parsi, di mana taman-taman segi empat dibahagikan dengan laluan pejalan kaki atau air yang mengalir ke empat bahagian yang lebih kecil. The map of the Mughal Empire. Some of famous building of Mughal architecture: Taj Mahal by Shah Jahan, Tombs of Ustad Shagir by Jahangir, Tomb of Akbar the Great by Akbar, Shahi Mosque by Aurangzeb.
Malay Archipelago. Malay Archipelago adalah kepulauan Melayu kumpulan pulau terbesar di dunia. Terdiri daripada lebih daripada 17,000 pulau di Indonesia dan lebih 7,000 pulau di Filipina. Nama wilayah Hindia Timur kadang-kadang digunakan sebagai sinonim untuk Nusantara. New Guinea biasanya sewenang-wenangnya termasuk dalam Kepulauan Melayu, walaupun Kepulauan Andaman dan Nicobar di barat laut dan Kepulauan Bismarck di timur tidak. Empayar Mughal adalah yang terakhir pada empayar India Islam yang hebat dan juga merupakan salah satu negeri terpusat terbesar dalam sejarah dunia pra-moden. Seni bina Mughal ialah gabungan seni bina Islam, Parsi dan India di benua kecil India Mughal atau seni bina Mur. Asal-usul masjid Malaysia semasa zaman kolonial India, Pakistan dan Bangladesh. Seni bina Mughal berakar umbi di India dan ia membawa pengaruh dari barat melalui perancangan Islam yang diperhalusinasi oleh pertukaran ilmiah antara prinsip Parsi dan Eropah.
Pengaruh Mughal terhadap Malaysia. Bangunan ini telah digunakan sebagai ruang pelbagai fungsi sepanjang sejarah di Malaysia disebabkan pengaruh dan penjajahan British dan penghijrahan orang Islam dari India. Banyak elemen seni bina Mughal dalam reka bentuk masjid dan lain-lain telah digabungkan. Masjid Zahir di Al-Usta merupakan sebuah masjid terkemuka di Malaysia. Seni binanya berusia 1 abad dan boleh dikatakan salah satu masjid tercantik di dunia. Elemen seni bina Masjid Zahir yang banyak dipengaruhi oleh seni bina Mughal yang berasal dari India Utara. Masjid ini telah menyesuaikan banyak elemen seperti kubah bawang dan gerbang. Masjid Zahir telah menunjukkan pengaruh yang kuat terhadap seni bina Mughal. Masjid Zahir ialah negeri bandaraya Al-Usta. Ia juga merupakan mercu tanda dan simbol seni bina Islam di negeri Kedah. Masjid Zahir terletak di Jalan Kampung Perak, Bandar Al-Usta. Dari segi seni bina, ciri paling unik Masjid Zahir ialah 5 kubah hitam yang mewakili 5 rukun Islam. Kubah utama sebelum ini mempunyai reka bentuk tersendiri berbentuk bawang dan dengan pengaruh seni bina Arab Parsi dan India Mughal. Masjid asal dengan symmetrical planning layout telah diperluaskan apabila kawasan solat baru dengan mihrab baru. Ciri-ciri simetri ini berasal dari asal-usul seni bina Mughal. A symmetrical planning layout adalah ciri biasa yang digunakan dalam seni bina Islam dan mengikut prinsipal of scale and proportion. Ini adalah karakteristik Masjid Zahir dari segi opening, minaret, kolom dan roof elements. Ini adalah gambaran-gambaran interior dalam Masjid Zahir.
Mughal architecture on Kuala Lumpur Railway Station. About Kuala Lumpur Railway Station. Stesen kereta api Kuala Lumpur direka bentuk dalam gaya seni bina yang sering digambarkan sebagai Indo-Saraceni. Gaya Indo-Saraceni juga terdapat di Masjid Jami' Ubidah dan banyak bangunan awam yang dibina oleh British pada abad ke-19 di India. Seni bina Indo-Saraceni menggabungkan seni bina Barat klasik dan seni bina Mughal dan seni bina Empire Moor, di mana Alhambra Place di Granada, Spanyol adalah contoh yang terbaik. Gaya seni bina ialah seni bina Mughal Neo-Saraceni yang dibawa masuk oleh pegawai British yang berkhidmat di India sebelum datang ke Tanah Melayu. Unsur-unsur tersebut dibawa masuk untuk menunjukkan Tanah Melayu sebagai sebuah negara Islam. Scallop arch juga boleh dilihat pada setiap catri. Satu lagi ciri ikonik seni bina Mughal, ciri yang menonjol seni bina Mughal yang keturunannya boleh dikesan kembali ke abad ke-16 Maharaja Mughal Akbar dan Civic. Bangunan di India semasa pemerintahan Raj British. Element of Kuala Lumpur Railway Station. The design incorporated numerous Mughal elements, such as horseshoes, arch and bulbous domes, with the aesthetics sensibilities of continental Europe. The design ideas for the Kuala Lumpur railway station came from the Mughal Neo-Saracen architecture, which features gently curving domes and arches. There are several distinctive architectural elements in this station. Keyhole arch, horseshoe arch, and ogee arch are among the features that identify Mughal architecture. Domes are the most eye-catching characteristic of Mughal architecture, and they are the chhatris that hold the domes. Silent physical characteristic. Opening, minaret, roof element and column. Detail Mughal element in Kuala Lumpur railway station building.
Masjid Ubudiah yang terletak di Bukit Candan, kira-kira 3 km dari Pekan Kuala Kangsar, telah dibina pada tahun 1914. Masjid ini terkenal sebagai salah satu masjid tercantik di Malaysia dan menjadi kebanggaan umat Islam di Perak, khususnya di Kuala Kangsar. Telah diberitahu bahawa Masjid Ubudiah tidak pernah melakukan sebarang pengubah suaian dan pengubah suaian kecuali kubah besar dan bahagian kubah kecil yang telah digantikan dengan kubah aluminium, memandangkan kubah asal yang diperbuat daripada konkrit telah pecah. Keluasan keseluruhan adalah 3,187 ekar dan asalnya masjid ini berpagar dengan pagar konkrit berongga yang membentuk bulatan. Kawasan berpagar ini adalah kira-kira 50,000 kaki persegi dan dikelilingi oleh rumah kediaman dan makam diraja. Masjid Ubudiah merupakan bangunan berbentuk oktagon dan dihubungkan dengan kawasan wuduk di bahagian belakang yang juga berbentuk oktagon bersaiz lebih kecil. Secara umum, plan itu direka bentuk secara bentuk simetri. Terdapat kubah besar yang menutupi kawasan solat utama bersebelahan dengan 5 kubah kecil. Masjid ini mempunyai 4 menara dan 16 menara yang boleh diakses hingga ke atas melalui tangga, dan 16 menara lain hanyalah elemen hiasan. Imej masjid yang menarik tidak boleh dipisahkan dengan kubahnya yang besar, dibalut dengan jambul penyaduran kuning seperti emas dengan puncak runsi yang dipasang. Ini menampakkan Rupa kubah yang beralun terus dari pangkalan dan drum sempit. Kubah utama 4 menara segi 8 berdiri kukuh dengan balkoni gaya citri di atasnya. Ia diatasi dengan kubah berbentuk aluminium dengan atap dalam yang disokong oleh gerbang trapeze. Ini adalah karakteristik Masjid Ubudiyah di bahagian entrance, Islamic pattern dan floor plans. Di bahagian dome, minarets, interior hall dan keyhole arch. This is the detail of Mughul element in Masjid Ubudiyah.
Kesimpulannya, Empayar Mughal adalah era yang besar, telah memberikan India sejarah yang sangat kaya dan mulia untuk ditandai dengan kata-kata emas. Menjelang akhir 19 abad, Mughal melihat kemerosotan mereka. Terdapat banyak sebab untuk kemerosotan Empayar Mughal. Arkitek British terpesona dengan seni bina Mughal sebab ia persamaan gerbang dan sistem pembinaan kubah berbanding teknik gobelet India kuno dan kualiti estetiknya. Pada mulanya, arkitek British bentuk bangunan mereka dalam gaya neoklasik. Tetapi kemudiannya mereka menyepadukan elemen seni bina ke dalam seni bina neoklasik ini untuk reka bentuk bangunan di India. Mereka membentuk gaya hybrid untuk simbol seni bina kerajaan kolonial British di bawah British East Indian Company berbanding gaya seni bina kerajaan British di England. Pilihan kacukan gaya Mughal dan klasik di tanah India membantu kehadiran British diterima oleh penduduk sebagai peralihan yang mentadbir daripada Empayar Mughal. Orientasi ke arah gaya Indo-Sarasenik telah menjelaskan perkembangan lanjut seni bina kolonial merdeka, termasuk di kawasan berpenduduk Muslim berhampiran India seperti Malaya British. Arkitek dan jurutera kolonial British sengaja mereka seni bina hybrid ini untuk banyak bangunan kerajaan dan keagamaan di tanah Melayu, menandakan gaya seni bina baharu dan simbol pentadbiran British di wilayah ini.
Next is Andalusian architecture, Malay Archipelago. About Andalusia, the number of historical properties in Andalusia is manifold. The Andalusia architecture is defined by the Roman and Islamic legacy dating back to 218 BCE and 711 AC. These cultures have left their mark through vaulted ceilings, pebbled courtyards, painted tiles, water features, and century-old stone walls. They continue showing the fame and glory of architectural gems today. Andalusian architecture is also known as Moorish architecture. Its unique architectural style has recognizable features such as Moorish arch, courtyard garden with asymmetrical four-part divisions, and elaborate geometric and arabesque motif in wood, stucco, and tilework. It is most recognizable and everlasting in the cities that thrive and ruled by Andalusia, which as Cordoba, Cairon, Fez, Marrakesh, Seville, Granada, and Telcom. Next is the history and timeline of Al-Andalus. In 711 AC, Muslim forces invaded Andalus, which were led by Tariq ibn Ziyad, and in the period of 7 years, they conquered the Iberian Peninsula. It became one of the great Muslim civilizations at that time, reaching its summit with the Umayyad Caliphate of Cordoba in the 10th century. Muslim rule declined after that and ended in 1492, when Granada was conquered. The heartland of Muslim rule was
in southern Spain or known as Andalusia. The periods during Muslim Spain was not a single period, but also a succession of different rules. The dependent emirate was ruled by from 711 until 756. The independent emirate rules during 756 until 929. The caliphate rules during the 929 until 1031. The Almoravid era rules during 1031 until 1130, and the Decline era rules during the 1130 until 1492. These are some of the famous buildings of Andalusia architecture, that is the Great Mosque of Cordoba, Medinat al-Zahra, the Giralda, and the Palace of Alhambra of Granada. Malay Archipelago. Malay Archipelago, which is the largest group of islands in the world, consisting of more than 17,000 islands of Indonesia and approximately 7,000 islands of the Philippines. The regional name East Indies is sometimes used as a synonym for archipelago. New Guinea is usually arbitrarily included in the Malay archipelago, though the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the northwest and Bismarck archipelago in the east are not. The archipelago island and group of the Republic of Indonesia include the Greater Sundas, Sumatra, Java, Borneo and Celebes, the Lesser Sundas, the Moluccas, and Western New Guinea. The main islands of Philippines include Luzon, which is in the north, Mindanao, which is in the south, and Visayas in between. Other political units in the archipelago are East Malaysia, which is Sabah and Sarawak, Brunei, and Papua New Guinea. Andalusian architecture in Malay archipelago. Islamic architecture was developed in North Africa and southwestern Europe, particularly in the Iberian Peninsula, which is in Spain and Portugal. It was the style of architecture that during the 8th to the 15th century. Spanish architecture towards the end of the 19th century and at the beginning of 20th was characterized by the development of varieties of styles, including Neo-Muslim. The concept of Andalusian architecture, which is the type of Moorish architecture, mosques are often incorporated intricately carved arches which led to large dome rooms which lead people towards significant areas of the building, such as the prayer spaces. This carving also appeared on the mihrab, an area of wall which indicates the direction of Mecca. Synagogues are another religious building, but feature differently structures. Synagogues are traditionally designed and carved stucco, brightly patterned tilework, and interlacing rounded arches. Funduks are a kind of marketplace where local merchants stayed and stored their goods and later used to sell items at market or auction. This multi-level commercial building contains storage rooms and areas for merchants to rest, which were arranged around a central courtyard where sales would take place. Some of the buildings were plain and focused on functions, while others were more decorated. The Alcazar is a fortress complex similar to a castle or palace, in which governmental officials would live and work. They consisted of multi-buildings for offices, venues, amenities, and housing for significant leaders and their families. The Alcazares were built around outdoor gardens, which were a significant part of Moorish life. The central courtyard allowed for privacy and revolved around a fountain, an element symbolic of life. Residential homes were also built around gardens and fountains because they offered a place for religious practice and spirituality. Next is the elements of Moorish design in architecture. The elements of Moorish design has five different arches, which is the Lambert-Queen Arch, Murkanas, the Horseshoe Arch, Moorish Arch, and also the Polylobe Arch. The Lambert-Queen Arch are closely related to the Muqarnas style and use many ornated lobes and points. It uses similar sculpting and often appears in areas that featured Muqarnas domes or alcoves. Lambrequine arches are commonly seen in significant buildings like mosques. Muqarnas is an ornamented honeycomb vaulting. This highly decorative element appears on ceilings, in alcoves, and as part of arches, and are often used in mosques. Moorish design also featured dome ceilings which are often intricately carved with repeating or abstract patterns. The horseshoe arch the, is also known as the keyhole arch, is a distinct form of Moorish architecture. These arches originated from Spanish Gothic architecture and many of the elements crossed over. Although it has been used since pre-Islam times, it has become a pinnacle element in Islamic architecture and is seen in many ancient buildings. The horseshoe arch is often rounded, but can also feature pointed or decorative carving. In this style, the arch is wider than its supporting column. Next is the Moorish arch. The Moorish arch is usually rounded with some design elements and are made of either stone or brick. The three major types of these arches are the horseshoe, polylobe, and Lamborghini. And lastly, the polylobe arch. The polylobe arch is characterized by the scallop edging, which mimics circular leaf shapes. This style also originated from Gothic architecture, but incorporates a larger amount of lobes. This style uses precise patterns to create a decorative yet balanced appeal. Next is Moorish art in architecture. The Islamic religion greatly influenced the Moorish culture. This reflects in Moorish art and Moorish architecture such as using abstract and geometric design and pattern to decorate. The common art forms are calligraphy, motifs, and tiles. Moorish art is architecture in which Moors use wood and stone carvings, calligraphic painting, ceramic, glass mosaic, and the use of colorful floral design. Moorish design is a subset of Islamic design, and it's known for its elaborate ornamentation applied in colorful tile work and plasterwork patterns. from abstract geometric to floral-inspired motifs to Arabic calligraphy, horseshoe, multifoil arches, and honeycomb vaults called muqarnas or macrobe in Spanish. The Moorish calligraphy is a stylised form of writing which is created as an art form and decorates many buildings, especially in mosques or alcazars, as well as in pieces of Moorish art. This inscription incorporated religious meanings such as verses from the Quran and Islamic beliefs. Lastly, in the Moorish art is art forms. Moorish visual arts was the recurring motifs of plants and floral patterns, which were intensively used in Moorish ivory and wood carving as well as an architectural carving.
Next, I, Wan Nuraida, would like to present about significant buildings in Andalusian. The first building is Mosque of Cordoba. The Great Mosque of Cordoba, locally known as Mezquita Cathedral, is one of the oldest standing structures from Al-Andalus. The Great Mosque of Cordoba was designed under Abdul Rahman. First, the element of design that wanted to emphasize is the mihrab. The entrance to the mihrab is structured through the horseshoe arch with mosaic decorations linking to the Byzantine tradition produced by craftsmen. And next is the dome of the Great Mosque of Cordoba. It is constructed of crossbeam that create a pointed arch. It is all covered with a gold mosaic in a radial pattern. Next is the hypostyle hall. It is comprised of a large hypostyle prayer hall filled with columns, seams magnified by repeated geometry, and striking combination of two tiers in semicircular and symmetrical arch, formed of stone and red brick. Next building is or city is of Medina Azahra. Medina Azahra was a fortified Arab Muslim medieval palace city built by Abdurrahman III, and it was the first palace to be built in Al-Andalus. The city was built on three terraces surrounded by a city wall, with the royal castle situated on the highest and middle level. The lower level was reserved for the living quarters and the mosque, which was built outside the walls. It was a complex building on terrace and composed of indoor and outdoor space, intermingled with gardens, pools, fountains, and surrounded by walls. Element of design that wanted to emphasize is at the Palace of Medina Azara, which is the Salon Rico. Salon Rico which is a Eastern reception room. There is three aisles separated by two rows of arch and include an ornamental arch wall at its end, elaborately decorated in stone and marble carving. Next is the House of Jaffa. The facade organized with a triple horseshoe arch supported by columns, the decoration with Arabics, and the facade with vegetable and geometric motifs. Next building is Alhambra of Granada. Designed as a military zone at the beginning, the Alhambra became a complex of medieval and Renaissance royal residence palaces and courtyards of Granada in the mid-13th century. After the establishment of the Nasrid kingdom and the construction of the first palace by founding King Muhammad ibn Yusuf bin Nas, the city, complete with communal baths, cemeteries, places for prayers, gardens, and reservoirs of running water. The element of design that wanted to emphasize is the Nasrid Palace, which is there is Palace of the Lions. The gallery is supported by 124 white marble columns with fine shafts. Under the wood carving frieze there are plaster arches except for those of the pavilions and the ends of the longer sides of the galleries, which are the macrobats, with scallops decorated with rhombus-shaped carving. For the Golden Court and Golden Room, there is a walls of the completely covered with multicolored patterns, various colors starting with azulejos tiles at ground level and followed upwards by several levels of mesmerizing stucco tapestry, interspersed with Quranic and poetry inscription. Next building is Girarda Tower of Seville. The iconic Girarda Tower in Seville was born of Al-Muhammad dynasty. It was originally built as a minaret, the Al-Jama Mosque. In present, it is Renaissance-style bell tower for Cathedral Santa Maria della Sede, simply known as Seville Cathedral. Element of design that wanted to emphasize is the design of the minaret from decorated in Cordoban style with stucco and wood, embellished with sandalwood, ivory, ebony, gold, and silver. Next is building influenced by Andalusian architecture in Malaysia. The first building is the majestic Sultan Abdul Samad Secretarial Building. The building original name was the Government Office Kuala Lumpur. It was renamed in 1974 after Sultan Abdul Samad, who was the Sultan of Selangor at the time of construction. Designed by a British architect, Norman was assisted by engineer. That building designed with a mix of Moorish influence inspired from northern India and European style. Its exterior architecture was based on the Moorish style, a mixture of European function and Islamic form. Moorish influence was chosen for the exterior of the building, which was emphasized by various point arches, columns, pinnacles, and onion-shaped domes. The element of Moorish style of the building is arch. The arches are of pointed horseshoe type with varying spans within the arch and giving a strip pattern. For the material is widely used the facing brick with a natural color to suit environment. The brick widely uh, used for wall surface, minarets and columns. A clock tower also simply added the horseshoe arch is brick and stone placed alternately within the arch and giving a strip pattern. Horseshoe arch to perform the repetition. Next building is Jami Mosque in Kuala Lumpur. The Masjid Jami is situated where both rivers, the Sungai Klang and the Sungai Gombak meet. The mosque was built in 1907 and officially opened by the Sultan of Selangor. The architect was Arthur van Nissenherberg. The architectural style of the mosque has been described as Islamic architecture, Moorish architecture, Indo-Iranian, or Mughal architecture, also combined with the Gothic, Revival, and Neoclassical style. The element that emphasizes the Moorish style is Prayer Hall. The arches and the striped white and red brick is made in Cordoba, Spain, but attached to a semi-open form because the tropical weather. There are 3 domes surround the prayer hall. The center dome is 21.3 meter high and flanked by 2 lower domes. Pinnacles and or spires, narrow spires are typical Moorish architectural motif. The minaret, the pattern of the red and white strip minaret which form as a brick and plaster horseshoe arch. The pattern from is pre-Islamic Syria and a symbol sainthood and holiness. Another element architectural style is bulbous or onion-shaped dome. The architectural style of the mosque has been described as Arabic and Mughal too, which is consists of 3 onion-shaped domes with chautry pavilions. The wall striking red brick and marble buildings inspired by North Indian Islamic architecture or Mughal architecture used to keep the mosque cool during daytime, warm during nighttime. The brick also possesses natural and pleasant colors of burnt clay. Next building is the Johor State Administrative Centre. Develop a new administrative centre with a view to integrate state and federal government departments in strategic locations that include the State Legislative Assembly Building, Sultan Ismail Building, and the Office of the Chief Minister and State Secretary Datuk Jaafar Mohamad Building, Dataran Mahkota and Mosque. All the building is aligned to be centered on the Qibla, where the mosque is in the main position. The concept is to prioritize landscape as a complement to develop. Each green area is inspired by the architecture of its own building. For example, the Moorish Andalusian style of the architecture in the central precinct is like a landscape garden inspired by the concept of Alhambra and generalized in Spain. The element of Moorish style that emphasized is the exterior of Kota Iskandar. The area is designed as a residential site with the concept of the famous architecture of the Court of the Lion in Alhambra. The exterior that connecting to main building, it is Sultan Ismail and Datuk Jaafar Mohamad Building. The design of the building landscape environment of Kota Iskandar combines the architecture of the Alhambra Palace and more Andalusian as well as the Johor Malay style. Also between the two connecting buildings in interior building is inspired by Moorish Andalusian architecture. Using a horseshoe arch, that's another the first element. Also in whole building, highlighted by a dome-shaped skylight that towers high. Next is Astaka Morocco Pavilion Putrajaya. The Moroccan Pavilion, a monument, is located in the Putrajaya Botanical Garden, the largest artificial botanical garden in the world. It was designed by R.D.A. Harris to show the architecture element of the traditional government of Morocco. The Moroccan Pavilion building with the concept of the Moorish architecture inspired by our current Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. The inspiration for the construction of the Astaka Morocco was taken from the Alhambra building in Andalus as a future building design model. Next element of Moorish style that I wanted to emphasize is the Moroccan pavilion is divided into three grand courtyards: the entrance courtyard, King Court, and Granada Court, each protected by ornate gates called city gates, Palace Gate and Splendor Gate respectively. The water fountain situated in the center of Granada Court was modeled after the Lion's Court of Alhambra. This the Lambert Queen Arch style and semicircular arch. The walls of the courtyard are adorned with geometric patterns that convey symmetry, decorative calligraphy showcasing Quranic verses, or a stunning and colorful mosaic of ceramic tiles called salih. The pavilion has three gates featuring a pattern of survey art showing replicas of a building found in Morocco and Andalusian distinct white walls and panels, stucco roof, and decorative arabesque arch with semicircular niche. In conclusions of building Archipelago in Malaysia is building a hybrid product of creative interaction between various architecture forms, among them and from architecture influence from Andalusia. Islamic form has been used in the country for various types of building by incorporating local or European architecture. A characteristic feature of Moorish architectural elements on the building is that it is surrounded by horseshoe arch interpretation. The art and form construct from motifs of plant and calligraphy, the material of the wall, and so on.